pleased to bring you the very first episode of Talk Success with Compact, an interview series wherein we conduct one-on-one interviews with successful entrepreneurs, giving a keen insight about the psyche of various market leaders to our audience. In this episode, we had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Aditya Arora, who is the CEO of Faad Network Private Limited, a leading member-based investor network that assists early-age startups in raising capital. He is the youngest Padma Shri Nominee and has won many prestigious awards for his work. Some of them include Parliamentary Award and Duke of Edinburgh International Award.
Hello and welcome everyone. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve, and no one can better attest to this than our guest for today. He hailed from a modest family and walked the stairs of growth from being an intern to the CEO. With great delight and cheer, I would like to welcome Mr. Aditya Arora, the CEO of Faad Network Private Limited, a Padma Shri Nominee, Forbes 30 Under 30 Nominee, and a Microsoft Changemakers Under 20. He's also been awarded the Indian Parliamentary Emeritus Award for 2015, International Award for the Young People, Duke of Edinburgh Award, Rex Karamveer Chakra 2019 United Nations. From being a student, he has now become a youth icon. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're glad to have you as our guest for the very first interview of Success Mantra, and we're very excited to know about your journey from scratch to success.
Thanks a lot for having me. It's really a pleasure being here. And hope you guys are taking care, staying safe. So look forward to talking about a bit of my journey, a bit of my learnings. Today's topic is called Successful Voyage That Inspires. So again, it's a voyage, right? A lot of people think that winning is a destination, but you get there and you're just done, right? But a voyage is something we just keep going on. It never stops. I look forward to interacting with you guys.
Yes, sir. So I have been researching about you for the past couple of days, and I've come across a long list of diverse achievements. But I was really interested in knowing which of these achievements you would say was the most important to you and which you think you worked the hardest for.
Yeah. So I think a human being is not a product of achievements, first of all. It all depends on what's the kind of journey you've had till now. And if you've put in hard efforts for it, you will get success sooner or later. So with me as well, I think every achievement or every recognition that I've got, I'm personally very proud of that because these have been some of the most renowned recognitions. So of course, very, very proud for that. It's very difficult to choose one amongst all of those, right? Because choosing one then means that the other is less or special. And to me, personally, every recognition or every appreciation of the work that I've got is special in their own ways. But I think, yes, being one of the youngest nominees for Padma Shri, which is the 4th highest civilian award in the country, yes, I think that's an achievement which I never thought I'd do it in my lifetime, let aside doing it at 23 years.
It is a very amazing achievement, so yes. So I would also like to know how you were in your college life and how what you learned from then and what you are now and how that differentiates.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. So the college that I went to was my dream college, right? I prepared for the entrance. I knew that it was competitive. I prepared for the interview and everything. I got myself a seat. There were just 21 seats at that point in time, and almost 13,000, 14,000 kids were appearing for it. True. Perfect. Like engineering examples do exist in commerce world as well. So I think this was one, right? Gave my efforts into it, went into that college, got selected, got a good rank as well. But I figured out that it's a business college, but not a lot, like hardly anyone is doing business. That was the primary reason that I wanted to go to this college, so that I could learn about business, do business, find team members. But I thought that most of the people had diverse life and career expectations, and startup was not one of them. So that made me interested that I probably can't do a lot of entrepreneurship while being in this college, but still let me interact and network beyond my areas. And similarly, this company came to hire interns from college. I gave an interview. I was selected post that. And of course, I started my internship in Faad. And yeah, since then I've been working with them and of course now being CEO. But in college, the first year was that I wanted to chill. But I realized that these are all people who are toppers from their own school. So for them, chilling is mostly sitting in libraries, which for me it isn't. So I was most of the times out of my classrooms, uh, either thrown out as well sometimes or by choice as well. I was involved in a lot of activities. I was a part of a lot of societies, and then of course I was working with Faad from almost first year itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's been a bit of my college life.
So from in that age, what do you think were like your hobbies or things you were really interested in outside of business?
I think at that point in time, and they are still my hobbies. I think hobbies are like crushes, right? You want to have them for lifetime, so it does not change. So still hobbies are there. So I was, in fact, one thing that I picked up was stand-up comedy, which became my primary hobby. So I was doing a lot of stand-up comic shows. I was doing a lot of open mics. That is the kind of habit that I picked up. I don't know whether should I credit my college for that to give me content, or whether should I credit myself for finding one. So I picked up stand-up comedy. In fact, I've resumed now to doing stand-up. So that is one thing. And second is I love playing cricket. So yeah, when our college did not have a ground, we used to play in parking lots. So yeah, we used to play gully cricket like that. So yeah, I think that was the only two things that I did in college. And studying was definitely not one of them.
I think stand-up comedy, especially for you now as a public speaker, it is a very big skill. And I personally it's a very brave thing, because a lot of the times your material might not be liked by the audience at first, because you have to like fine-tune it every moment while you're doing it. So it's basically a learning experience in itself, where you're throwing yourself out there in your content, and then you sort of get judged by people, and then you change it to fine-tune it to become better.
Yeah, I think it's kind of complementary, right? Right now, I give gyan, inspiration, and motivation to kids, and that kind of helps if you have like a sense of humor. You know how to control audience. You know how what kind of chords hit with the students. You've done that. You've done so you know what excites students. How they would want to be explained things, right? Yeah. So that happens, gives you an advantage definitely as a public speaker as well.
So. I think, like you were telling us, Faad has played like a major role in your life. From first you were being like intern, and then now you're currently the CEO. So how do you think the company's development has affected your personal development, and what are the parallels that you can draw between that?
Very interesting question. So I think these both are mutually inclusive, right? They're not exclusive, because the company is growing, you grow along with the company too, right? And a part of my work is known for Faad itself, right? So definitely company has grown a lot also till then. But I think it was the mission, right? Even if Faad was not doing a lot of investments back then, but it was our mission that sooner or later we'll end up doing investments. We'll end up investing in young entrepreneurs and startups, which we are doing now. Now we have picked up, we have grown up massively from where we started. But I think at that point of time, since I was in college, and I had like pretty much knew a lot of friends in all colleges across universities. So at that point in time, it was more like that I was saying things from the heart. Faad was growing. Faad, the name also helped. Kind of built a personal brand. The personal brand started building there. And I think when Faad, in the past 2 years, it's grown up and it's done from 5 investments, I think, in 2 years when I was in college, to almost 40 investments in the past 2 years. So it's grown almost, you can say, 8 to 10 times since the time I've become full-time with the company. So yeah, it's kind of mutually inclusive, and you are known for your work as well at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's true. All right. So I really was interested in the brand name. So can you tell us like the story of how you came to that brand name? Because it really stands out, and plus, in like being a college kid, that lingo sort of just is very important, and you can hear that every day.
Very interesting story. So yeah, as you said, Faad is a lingo, right? It's not a word. It's like an emotion, right?
True.
Faad kaam kar diya. Faad khana banaya. You have so many examples you associate with Faad. Yeah. You also give curses in Hindi with Faad, but that also sometimes means excitement, right? So Faad is that emotion which basically is a youth lingo, and all of us use it as an expression for something awesome, for something absolutely magical. And that's what we did. Like, we bought the domain name. That domain name was available. We bought it in 2013, 14. And 1 year we just held the domain and did not know what to do with that. But then later on, of course, we figured out, we pivoted, and we did a lot of things. But Faad was that emotion from day one that no matter what we end up doing, no matter where we go ahead in life, we want to do Faad work. We are Faad people. We want to do Faad work, and we want to create an impact. That's
so like impactful work, which sort of like is pertinent to everyone. Like it impacts a lot of people and it just changes a lot of things. So I have a question according to that also. That like when you started the company, how was that experience? Because a lot of us are interning nowadays, and it is the internship market now. I would say so diluted with just so many internships. It's very difficult to find good ones. So for you, how was that like that search?
I think a major part of your internship is luck as well, right? Because in 2 months, you can't know everything about wherever you are interning. In 2 months, what you could do is just get a feel or an exposure of something that whether it actually works for me or not. And internships, the way they are structured right now, are very bad. I'll tell you why. Because most of the internships expect you to know all these things from day one, right? And then do something. But the purpose for an internship for me is to know these things that we don't, right? And get it in the practical. And that is what I got from Faad. I tanked my interview. 1.5 hours I was there in the interview. I literally tanked my interview. I had no questions. I did not know what bootstrapping is, venture capital is. I was just a college kid. And there were so many of my college mates who were more bright than me. They were sitting in, and I'm sure they would have answered all the questions, right? But still, they hired me because, again, I had that tendency to learn. I had the tendency to unlearn whatever I have and start learning again. And my 2 months internship was writing reports of what I did not know, finding answers to what I did not know. That's what I did in the next 2 months, just read a lot of reports and gain that life skill. So I think I was fortunate enough that I got partners like these who invested in my growth, who saw something in me, picked me up, and gave me that time as well to learn things, right? And not just make it like internship at 2 months, you have to do this much and then go away. So they invested for a long term. So I think that's where.
Yeah, that's true. I think a part because you sort of got mentored by your partners in this whole firm, and then you started from an intern, and then it sort of their own values and your own values culminated to make this organization at this point. So, like, what do you think are the common mistake new entrepreneurs make that usually lead to like unsuccessful business?
Wish I could have written a book on that because there are so many mistakes. It's practically impossible to just name a few of them. But a couple of things that kind of depresses me around young entrepreneurship people who are in colleges and who want to start a startup is that they are too much conscious of their age, right? And they're saying, okay, I'm just 17 or 18 right now, 19 right now. Let me wait for a while and then go ahead and do it. I'm very young to start anything now. That's a misconception. There's no right age to start a startup, right? People are starting it at the age of 12 itself and becoming it. So I think age is not a proportion to where do you want to start and when do you want to start. Second thing that I've realized is that most of the people on the flip side think that they know everything, right? They've read books, they've read reports, they've done courses, and they think that they are the masters of everything. But entrepreneurship is such a practical life skill that you can't read it from books, right?
Yeah.
And it's a very practical life skill. You will be facing with problems in real life, in real time. So it's very important to unlearn some portions that you don't know and some portions that in fact you already know, but they are done differently in a practical manner. I'll explain you one thing. So we were taught, since I am a finance student, we were taught how to evaluate a company, how to do the valuation of a company. But when I stepped into the practical world, I realized that this is completely different from what the books taught us. So then it's very important that you unlearn at that point of time and start learning the practical things again. So I think that's another challenge. And third is just that time management. I think a lot of us just think that okay, time nahi hai, ye sab nahi hai. These are I'll tell you like mostly excuses, right? Because people still go ahead and do it. It's not that time 24 hours is there with everyone, each and every one of us. So finding out the time, managing things, micromanaging things, coming out from procrastination, and going ahead and doing it. That is where I think the third challenge is as well.
All right. So, according to you, like a lot of the newer students, you think are conscious of their age, and that's why they take themselves less seriously, which sort of impacts their own business and their presentation of how that is, right?
Yeah, so I think one thing that the newer age which is coming in, they are very conscious of what people say to them, right? And this is something that I've been observing quite a lot. The elder people used to back themselves that I'll go ahead and do it. But the newer age which is coming in is becoming very, very conscious. And that's the power of social media as well. Made us into very conscious citizens. So so I think that is the thing. But I always say this to wherever I go and speak, that when we want to buy let's say a pair of jeans, whatever our friend says, we'll probably go ahead and buy it, right? Or we'll buy it from the first. We'll do that, right? Or maybe if you're going into a mall, we'll not buy it any time from the first shop. We'll go multiple shops, we'll ask the price, we'll check the quality, the quantity, because we are very conscious people. We want that the big jeans should be the best fit on us, right? But this is a pair of jeans which will get worn out in the next 2 or 3 years, right? But the career that when we have to choose, we just take randomly the advice of the first person who tells us that this is best, this has a lot of scope. So that's the wrong thing. And the worst part about it is if you fail in life, you get all the blame for it. But if you get success, you lose all the credit for it to other people. So why not take more credit for it and do something which you can build a scope for yourself, right? And you can go ahead and explore yourself and become successful in that. So I think if you do that,
I think it's also a part of the fact that a lot of us are young and our parents come from like different backgrounds, but a lot of the times they're more conservative than we are. So they will tell us like things like you should like a lot of parents are supportive nowadays even of businesses, but they would mostly prefer for us to go into a more streamlined career path, whatever, because that's how it is. That's how sort of we're supposed to be, and that's how they think is right because it is in a way much more likely to succeed. So I think that also sort of a parent's approval and how does that change for you? How were your parents supportive for you, and did that like help you or like?
I think if parents would have supported, I would have never been called the Faad guy. But I just realized one thing that, of course, parents are your best well-wishers who are there for you, as in nothing beats them. But I just believe one thing that not even 100% of the time parents can be right about everything. I know they are more experienced, they've seen the world, I respect them for that. But when it comes to a career choice, they would have their inputs. They would have been thinking for the good of the family, but then maybe it's not good for me, right? So I should go ahead and do it. And that's the thing that I did. When my family does not come from a business background itself. In fact, I'm the first generation entrepreneur from my entire family, not just my close family, but from an entire family, I'm the first generation entrepreneur. So it takes time, and it's not that okay, you were doing nothing in life. I went to a very best college. I had like a job as well, like a very high paying job. But I ditched all of it to, of course, start entrepreneurship with a company which no one had heard of back then, right? So it's kind of course, challenging. There were struggles. I have had my own fair share of struggles. But I think one thing that I did right was that I bought time from parents. That is one thing you should do, right? Parents want to see the tangibility of whatever you do, right? That okay, if my kid is an entrepreneur, I want to see his or her name in some place, some media, talking about their work. I want some validation on their work. It's not just in the head that he's an entrepreneur and probably not telling me what he's doing in life, right? So once they see validation that okay, he's up to something, then they start getting more confidence slowly and steady. That's what I did. I bought time. I did a wager with my dad that if the next 2 years I'm not able to sort of convince you that I'm up to something, I'll probably go ahead and do it, whatever you want me to do in life. But if I'm able to do that in the next 2 years, then probably we won't sit again and we won't discuss like what I'm doing in my career. And the 2 years went by and the conversation never happened, right? So of course that kind of growth was there. So just back yourself, buy time from your parents, and you have to be confident on yourself. But once you've bought time, make every second count. It's not like I bought time and I'm just chilling and then I'm expecting okay, this thing did not work out. Just give it your all, and yeah, for chilling and everything, I always believe that you should do that, but you can do that at any point of time in your life. And I think this is the time which is the make or break, where you decide a career, decide a passion, or go. It's very critical and back yourself.
So I think in that manner, like when we're setting a goal for ourselves and we have to prove for someone who's like, as primarily we want to prove as our parents, that we sort of, you put in more effort, you realize that a lot of that work you're putting in has to have effort and it has to have like quickly. So in a similar manner, a lot of the time startups usually take up to 4 or 5 years to become, to get up and running, and sometimes even 9, 10 years to become profitable. So what do you think is like that because a lot of times you will be dealing with investors who would want a shorter like time period for returns, because for them that is a major consideration. So how do you deal with that? How do you decide which business you should invest in?
So I'll tell you one thing. It's a very great question. Most of startup investing is passion investing. I always say to my investors that if you want capital quickly, go ahead and invest in stock market. Don't invest in startups, right? There you can do your short trade, you're in intraday, short sell, and you can get your money. Startups are not short trades. Startups are not short sells. Startup is a long-term investing purview, right? And if you're investing in a long term, you have to be patient. You can't be like, I invested in a mutual fund today and where are my returns tomorrow? You have to stay invested in it for 3-5 years, right? And that's when you gain, right? Long-term investing is slow, but the returns you get are always compounded, right?
Yeah.
So I always tell that be passionate, and like wait for that. The second thing I tell is that don't chase returns from day one, right? Because startups are not that, they take time to build, they take time to grow, right? So whenever you're investing in a startup, look from a point of view that where you can add the maximum value. If I can add a maximum value to a startup, I'm hedging my risk indirectly, right? Because I'm getting them more business or getting them more investments or anything. So see where you can add maximum value and then invest in it. Don't just look at what would be the returns. No one in this world can tell you that startup will give you this amount of returns in the next these many years. Sorry, it's
like,
kind of otherwise, yeah.
The personal time investment and effort investment of the like your HNI is also very important, as well as the capital that they're providing, basically.
Absolutely. I think it's a basis of trust. 5 lakhs, 4 lakhs won't do a lot of good to a startup, right?
Yeah.
But that is a relationship of trust, that I trust in you and that's why I'm helping you and backing you. And that trust should always be built on principle, morals, and values, and not just returns, right? I don't want my startup founders to just think of my investors who kitna return provide kar. I want them to focus on work. If they're focusing on work, they're doing good work, returns are automatically being taken care of.
Sure.
That's the mindset with which at least I do my angel investing.
So, like, how do you decide which investors to pair with, which startups, and how do you decide which startups you actually want to invest in the first place?
See, startups have a very high failure rate. So no matter how much mind can I put, no matter how much Excel model I can build, if it's a failure, I can't predict. I'm not an astrologer. Not even an astrologer can predict the success of a startup, right? So what I look for is just one thing, which is team, right? Team is the most underrated aspect in a startup. Everyone looks at financials, everyone looks at business plan presentations. But what I look for is team, right? Who is running that company? Because 3 years down the line, I don't know the fate of that company. I don't know whether they'll be doing the same thing that they're doing right now. Whether they'll have the same price or not. Will they have the same marketing or not? Or will they have the same technology or not? But I just know one thing, that the guy I'm putting money in right behind, I want him or her to have the same passion in the next 3 years, right? And that is where I put in. That their understanding, their confidence, and just their passion to execute it. And you get it from the vibes of people that they are heavily passionate about this. And so we do that, and so we invest. But we don't blindly invest into passion as well. I think passion is measured with a bit of understanding and a bit of reasoning, and makes a great combo to invest.
So, like, it is very similar to a question I had, which was while you're investing, I think the startup, the business model itself, and the entrepreneur play a major role, because how you implement that business model comes from that entrepreneur. So, like, when you're talking to entrepreneurs, what qualities stand out to you? And like, if I would try to ask the other students over here, which qualities they should try to inculcate, or they should like to focus on to become better entrepreneurs in the future? What would you say?
So I think first quality is, of course, understanding of what they're doing, not just building anything and just realizing that what they are building, why are they raising capital, and what will they do with it. So I think that is one thing. Second thing, of course, is passion. Now, passion is something that I can't explain, but you see it from the eyes of entrepreneur, from the voice. I think now you can't physically meet. That is the biggest challenge. You can't physically meet people.
Yeah.
So you just sort of judge by
their energy is not really transferring through like what you usually can see.
Absolutely. So you can't observe body movements. You can't do a lot of things,
Sure.
right? So maybe that person is sitting in boxers and like asking for $2 million. You do never know, right? So you never know. But what you could do is, of course, that comes with more experience as well, like meeting a lot of new people, and that kind of comes in with that. But third thing that I look for is their confidence in themselves, right? Because if they don't have confidence in themselves, no investor, no external capital would be there to help you. Once you start a startup, there'll be 10 people giving advice to you, but not every advice matters. So the end of the day, founders have to have confidence in themselves. If they are not having, I think, very difficult to survive entrepreneurship, because entrepreneurship is not made. It's not made for people who lose. I think entrepreneurship is made for people who have the desire to win and see themselves as winner every time. If you do that, I think you can survive entrepreneurship, not just for the next 3 years, but for coming 8 to 10 years as well.
So I was thinking, what would you say is like the defining or the Faad moment from your career, which you would say is it's sort of like you are most proud of in terms of when things just clicked, when things just became right?
Sorry, did not catch the question.
So like what would you say are like the moments in your own career which were the Faad moments which sort of defined things to come with things just set in right, and you personally started to feel that you are at home in this concept or this idea, or you've become a part of this culture?
Yeah, I think life has given so many Faad moments till now, and it's kind of course, difficult to point out a couple.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that I did was the first event that I did on Valentine's Day, where I invited about 20 co-founders who were looking to join startups and 20 startups who were looking to join looking to have co-founders. And I did a speed dating event for them. So I think that was the thing that I did on Valentine's Day. And I thought that no one would come because, of course, who comes on Valentine's Day? I thought everyone would have a Valentine, but that day I realized that not just I am single, but a lot of my startup founders are single as well. So they were there, and of course we had like a lot of crowd. Apparently 8 startups matched that day. So I think that was the first event which gave me name into the ecosystem as well. And that would always be special. And then second thing is, of course, when I became the CEO. When, of course, I was in college and I was seeing that where should I go and get a job, maybe if I don't get an offer from Faad.
Yeah.
But I ended up getting an offer from Faad, and even in fact hired my own batchmates as well. So yeah, I think that when that happened, it gave me a sense that now it's a very big responsibility on me. It's not just an intern where I can say, okay, I'm an intern, I'm learning, and let me just go away. I'm the CEO of a company now, and I'm also the face of the company as well. So yeah, I have to be very conscious of whatever I do because it's associated with brand, and I can't make a lot of mistakes. So I think that was the challenge, but I think I've been up for it now. I've been doing it for the past 50 years.
I think I hope you don't mind me saying this, but a lot of getting the right job and getting the right career in your life is also based on luck and just chance and that moment where you have to perform, and if you perform then you get that. So for you that was a very big part of how you ended, you were just given that responsibility and then you were up to it, and that's how you sort of have been able to do well in this field, because being a CEO of a company after just being a fresher is sort of a daunting task, and even its name itself.
Yeah, CEO of an investment company where mistakes are very costly and you're dealing with people's money. So
I also Yeah, so I was thinking ki a lot of the times I would say these people are investing a lot of money, so they would like want to directly talk to you. So are you more involved in your business than other CEOs normally would be in that manner to your clients?
Uh, I think it's a mix of both. So our end goal is to also build a community of angel investors, right?
Sure.
Startups, of course, are there. We are funding startups, but that would only happen if we get more number of investors as well, right? More capital comes in. So part of it, I think, also goes in talking to new age angel investors, telling them how to, of course, invest in startups, what's the process and everything. So I think that part of the job is there. Yeah, I think it's everything mixed here. You have to do work. You have to. Since my mission in life is to also empower young people, so I'm active on social media as well. And then, of course, active on your work side as well. So I think that kind of explains with my dark circles that I'm not probably been sleeping all this while. But yes, I think it's an amalgamation of everything. When you're building a community, you just can't do one thing. You have to attract community from various other things, and yeah, helping others to do their bit.
All right, so I have a very final question for you. And firstly, it honestly, it's an inspiration to have you here because while you're talking to you, we get that a lot of the times, like you sound like someone who I would say is like a friend of mine from college or something or the other because you still have that energy. And even though you've been like put up to a very serious and a very daunting task, I feel like preserving that energy is what has made you be able to be successful and being able to like propel far even further, right? So I'm very happy to see that in you. So what is the advice that you've heard in your own lifetime till yet, and what is advice that you would want to give to other entrepreneurs or other students in general who are trying to improve in life, not just in entrepreneurship, but if they want to go into corporate also, success is in sort of some ways similar in across these fields. So what is you think is like the most important advice you could give to them right now?
Yeah. I think one thing that I like to tell all of you who are listening is that I love you if you are doing a startup, but even if you're not, I love you as well, right? So for me, it's not just about brainwashing entrepreneurship, because if I do that and if I shove it down your throats that become an entrepreneur right now, then it's sort of taking away the purpose. I always shove just one thing on the throat of people, that just follow your passion. Because if you don't follow it, you'll never realize that I could be successful in it as well, right? So I think that is one thing that I want to say to you. And last thing that I want to say is just be patient, right? Don't just rush through things as well. Trust people, trust organizations. I just did one internship in my life, just one. And that is the company that I'm heading right now. So you don't need to be like a master of everything. You don't need to, like, let's say, just do everything to add brownie points to your CV. Because life is definitely not a CV. Life is more like an experience. So back yourselves, be patient about some things, about promotions, about results, about success of your startup or your job. Be patient, keep hanging, and just keep loving yourself. That's the thing which a lot of us don't do. So we should love ourselves a lot more, and we should be proud of ourselves as well.
So it's a great pleasure to have you here, sir. So I think Manasvi will give you an outro. Achha, it's okay.
Sorry.
I was trying to get the words. I was trying to get the lip sync.
This is what work from home sound feels like. So, on behalf of Team Compact, I would like to extend my heartiest thanks to you, sir, for joining us today. We are grateful for the time and efforts you gave us and helped us to walk us through your thoughts and experiences. We hope you had a great experience, sir. And thank you again for making us this experience a truly memorable one.
Thank you so much to the team for inviting me. And love to see you guys on the other side, like being successful figures yourself. And definitely do recognize me if you become successful. So that is one thing. But yeah, amazing talking. In fact, what I've done is that I've started doing a lot of content around startups. So if you guys are interested, drop the link in the chat of my YouTube channel.
Yes,
do go ahead and subscribe and do see the kind of content we are putting there and do give your valuable suggestions. So I think that being said, thank you so much, Apu, Manasvi, and the entire team. Look forward to physically doing it as well sometime.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So this interview would be paraphrased into an article on our newsletter, which we'll be sharing with you soon.
Definitely.
So
Wherever you are doing it, just tag me. I'm happy to reshare.
sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Mr. Arora's journey is a perfect example of age is just a number. We wish him success in his future endeavors. We hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like it, leave your feedback in the comment section. Do subscribe to our channel for more intriguing conversations like these and stay tuned for the next episode.